Welcome to today's episode of How the Game Was Won. Today we are in Bilbao for the 9th Masters Final for the game versus Wei and Giri. This game played on the 19th of July 2016. Game started with e4. Continuing, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, knight f6, castles, knight e4, d4, knight d6, bishop takes c6, d takes c6, d takes e5, knight f5, queen takes d8, check, king takes d8, which is all very normal Berlin Wall defense. And as the saying goes in professional chess circles, all Berlin Wall games are drawn, except for the ones that are not. And in quite a few games in this position, white normally goes for something along the lines of knight c3 with bishop d7, h3, h6, bishop f4, but in this game Wei went instead with playing h3 with h5, knight c3, bishop e7. Instead of bishop e7, the more usual is king e8 with bishop f4, bishop e7, rook a1, bishop e6, knight g5, rook h6, g3, bishop takes g5, bishop takes g5, rook g6, h4, for instance. And that's for example what Anand played against Giri in London 2015, and that game ended a draw. But in this game, Giri went for bishop e7, continuing bishop f4, bishop e6, rook ad1, king c8, knight g5, bishop takes g5, bishop takes g5, b6, g4, or h takes on g4, h takes on g4, knight h4, bishop takes on h4, rook takes on h4, f3, king b7, king g2, rook h8, h8, rook h1, rook takes on h1, rook takes on h1, rook takes on h1, king takes on h1. So the rooks are all off the board, the queens are off the board, and we've got a black having 4 against 3 pawns on the queen side of the board, while white has 3 against 2 on the king side. And the problem with black's 4 against 3 on the queen side is that 2 of those pawns are doubled, so there's no clear overlap that can be pressed into a passed pawn, whereas white's 3 against 2, there's a distinct pawn overlap on that e-file. Continuing, c5, king g2, king c6, a4, a6, king g3, b5, a takes on b5, a takes on b5, f4. And you can see here that pawn majority on the king side that white has, that I mentioned earlier, is much more mobile than black's pawn majority, which involves that double pawn, and that backward pawn of that double pawn formation is a useful target for white to be able to attack. And white takes care of the double pawn by picking up the extra pawn there, then it will be the clear advantage happening on the king side of the board. Continuing, b4, knight e4, bishop a2, knight d2, which is obviously preventing black from playing bishop b1 and applying pressure onto that onto the c2 pawn. King d5, c3, b takes c3, b takes c3, g5, which is probably the one of the key errors by black, because for instance after c4 you've got king f3, bishop e3, which is and the bishop's able to come back into the game, and that should be all nicely tied up. But after g5, king f3, and now king e6, and after king e6 that bishop is just simply buried and blockaded and closed off, completely out of play. For instance, c4, king e3, bishop b3, knight e4, g takes, king takes, bishop a4, knight g3, still gives white a bit of an advantage, but obviously white will need to work a hell of a lot harder than after king e6. c4, and it's now just simply a one game that Wei is way strong enough a player to be able to take it, bring home the point, even though he's rated 100 points, rating points lower than Giri. G takes f4, king takes f4, f6, e takes f6, king takes f6, g5 check, and that pass is just simply going to go through. King g6, king g4, king h7, king h5, king g7, g6, c6, king g5, king g8, king h6, and in this point Giri resigned, because after king h6, for instance, king h8, g7 check, king g8, knight e4, bishop takes on c4, knight f6 check, king f7, and g8, queen check, with the bishop falling on the very next move. So that's how the game was won. Feel free to post any comments, questions, criticisms that you have in the comment section down below. Remember, like, share, subscribe. And last but by no means least, until we meet again for the next episode of How the Game Was Won, remember, stay carved up for the win. I'll see you next time. Cheers.
Go vegan! CoachEdu.net